This build series reconnects me with Sandy, my first full restoration project. This 1982 FJ45 is mounted on an 80 series chassis and is equipped with a Barra turbo. But I'm removing the Barra and replacing it with a 6.2 litre LS3 to make Sandy into more of a weapon for its new owner. Welcome back to the shed. The progress has been really quick on this build. It's a bit like the VDJ80 build where I knocked it out in 7 weeks. I've only been going on this for 3 weeks and I'm about to put the engine in for its last time. So let's catch up what we're up to. So I spent the day yesterday just painting everything. So got the new engine mount painted, chassis rail, blended all that in. I gave actually the chassis a nice clean. So it's all nice and clean underneath there now. What I've also done is I've repaired the firewall, so I'll obviously put up in the thing what it looked like. So there was a hole there where the existing ECU was for the Barra, so I've had to repair that. And the cool thing was, I was worried about painting it because obviously it's they're never the same when you paint it and then you go and get another batch of paint made up. It's never quite the same. But I went down to Northern Auto Paint Supplies and just had a chat to them about it. And what they actually gave me was, it was in a spray can. So it was the 416 June Beige in a spray can, and then I got a clear coat over the top of it. Because it was only going on the firewall, it's not like it's an outside part or anything like that. And I was actually pretty impressed with how close the match came up. So, I mean, you wouldn't even really tell that it's been sprayed, one in a spray gun, in a rattle can, but two, that there was any real difference. I mean, when you get up really close to it, you can probably see like a small shine difference, but you'd have to be really up close and personal with it to notice it. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out, and I sent it up to the owner and he's pretty stoked with it too. So that's pretty cool. So I got that done, and then got all the engine mounts, the pedal mount, BCM bracket, fuse bracket, radiator support, just all the black pieces all painted. So I'm up to, starting to do final assembly, I guess. So I'll chuck up the time lapse and we'll get into it. All right, well, I'm pretty happy with how the wiring has gone in. It's, because obviously we've got two looms now. We've got the engine loom, we've got the body loom. But my plan of using the existing heater tap hole has worked out beautifully. And as you can see, I was able to tape it and use the actual original grommet too. So I sort of just put a little split at the top of it to use it, and then I'll just put a little dab of silicone on there to silicone all that up. But yeah, that's the engine loom, so that'll obviously go on the engine when I'm finished. And then the body loom side of it comes back where it originally came out to. So connections obviously to the back, and then all this will then wrap around the front, around the radiator and that. But inside, pretty stoked with how that's all turned out actually. So that's the fuse panel, and so all the relays and the fuses will go into that. If I was to have my time again, I'd probably revisit this and try and hide that a little bit better, but just with the way it's all taped and everything like that, it's sort of I mean, it's still fine, but it's, yeah, it's those little 5%ers. That could be 5% better. Try and tuck it in there. My original plan was actually going to run all of this up and over the glove box, but just with space restrictions and everything like that, once I got back into the car, I couldn't do that. So it's there. But yeah, just sort of tied all that up there. The ECU's all nice and mounted, body control module, all mounted in there. That's where the body loom comes out. And then that'll all then just wrap up and over the top. And obviously I've still got a bit more finishing off to do. I've just got to lengthen like the pedal and the OBD plug and the ignition source and stuff like that, but I can do that whenever. So yeah, I think the plan now will be, as I said, I'm pretty happy with where all that's at. I'm going to lift the cab up now and I'm going to make a start on the exhaust just while I've got easy access to everything. So it's not up on the hoist, I'm not doing anything over my head, I can do it all on the ground. And then we'll make a start on that and then we'll see where we get to. Alright, well, job done on the exhaust, well, pretty much done. Let's have a look. So I've run it out of the manifolds and then, yeah, just a couple of bends into the cat and then just a nice straight pipe into the mufflers. And yeah, so what I've done actually is this one here, the mount for that is actually an old front mount. So the old front mount that goes there, I just had, because I needed one on this side, I just had those lying around from other builds and that. So I've taken the standard mount off and put these ones on. So they've worked out quite nice there. So what I'm going to do now is, this was so handy to do, with the cab up, to be able to run all these exhaust pipes in here. It was just so handy just to be able to just take it on and off, check things out, whatnot. But now the rest of it is up underneath the tray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the cab now. I can bolt it up and it's its final home now. And then I'll then put it up on the hoist, the whole car up on the hoist, and I'll do that back section up on the hoist. The plan will be just to run up to there and up to there. It'll then just go into a collector. So 2.5 inch into a 3 inch pipe, and then the 3 inch pipe will then take off out to the back. So that's the final piece of the puzzle there. So I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, pretty happy with how it's all turned out. It's all nice and symmetrical, and yeah, go start putting this cab down. So I just want to show you the final product on the exhaust. ProFlow headers, and then down into 2.5 inch stainless, high flow cat, and then running down into high flow muffler, and then up and over the top into the collector. And I mean, I've got the other side off at the moment because I've been doing other bits and pieces, but yeah, that's sort of where it finished up. And then yeah, into the collector, into the 3 inch pipe, and then I kept the existing tailpipe out, and I probably got to cut that mount off and realign all that mount and that. But yeah, it saves me having to think about doing like a second tailpipe over and top and thinking about an exit point and everything like that. I think that's come up quite nice, and yeah, I guess my welding's getting a lot better as well. Nice goldfish colours in there, and yeah, pretty happy with how it's all turned out. So yeah, obviously This side's the exact same, just running down here. Now, one thing I do want to mention is because the exhaust for the barrel was down the driver's side, that was fine. Now we're a V8, we've got two exhausts, so I have to run down one down the passenger side. Now the problem is I've got not only brake lines, I've got fuel lines, I've got wiring, and I've got air lines, both for the breather and for the rear diff lock. So what I've done is, I wasn't worried too much about the brake lines because they're sort of hidden behind everything anyway and they're steel. And I wasn't really worried about the fuel lines either because they're braided line. So they'll be okay with that little bit of heat that'll come out. But the wiring and the air lines I was worried about. So I've gone and got some of this hot sleeve. So like car builders sell that and that. And yeah, I've just basically run all the wiring and all the air lines, as you can see, through the hot sleeve. And then sort of picks out the other side here. And I think it actually makes it look so much more cleaner as well. So it's, yeah, it's been a good little addition. And then also while I've been going on the fabricating, I've rehomed the transcooler. Now the transcooler originally lived up on the tray firewall, sorry, the tray bulkhead there. But given the gearbox is now longer and further away, and I didn't necessarily like where it was when I mounted it up there in the first place, knowing that Jason's not going to be using it for mud bogging like I was, I've basically just, yeah, made up a bracketry for it to go under there because there was a big hole there underneath the car anyway. And then that way I can then redo the lines later on. And then, yeah, that'll go into the ports there, into the transmission, and yeah, we've got a good little spot for it there. The other thing that was the issue with it up there is because of the intake lines and that, it was having to rely on gravity, it was trying to push against gravity to try and get it up. And then therefore the the temperature switch wasn't working. So I had it on just permanently. Whereas now that it's going to be not working against gravity, it'll actually cool itself properly, and I'm hoping that the temperature switch will just start working and then it'll serve its purpose. All right, so I've had to, now that I've bolted up the transcooler lines, I've realized that the exhaust is pretty close. So I've had to move the O2 sensor. See, the O2 sensor was sitting there, so that was fouled up on that. So that was a bit of an oversight on my part. So I've had to then chop that O2 sensor out, move it that way to get the O2 sensor in the right spot. So sorry, I had to cut the cat out to get that in the right spot. But then what it meant is that gap was way too close. So if you see it on this side, it's about that. It was way too close to those fuel lines. So I've ended up having to chop this off again, rotate it slightly that way to then cock it that way. So it's now sitting pretty much nice and lined in there. And then unlike this side, which went straight and then straight down and then across, this one's now running away from the fuel lines and the electrical lines. And then I've just had to put a new S-bend in to get it all lined up again. So that was a bit of a stuff around today, but that's all right. And then, yeah, it loops up and over. I've then cleaned up the back tailpipe. I also noticed that this was sort of touching, whereas it's not touching now. And then end up chopping that mount off and getting that mount in its right spot again, so that the tailpipe is in its right spot. So that's a lot better now. So that should serve it well. So as you can see, I'm getting closer. I reckon I'm probably going to end it there because I reckon I've I always like to try and keep these to sort of, under 20 minutes. I reckon next episode, definitely will get to first fire up, or hopefully it'll work. So I think I'll finish this one here with the aim of next episode, we'll do the first fire up, and then, we'll see where we get to from there. We might even go for a drive, hopefully. But anyway, if you've made it this far, you know what I always say, smash that subscribe button, give it a little like, and every little bit helps. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the comments as well. There's a lot of people putting comments about the build and that too. So keep them coming. I answer every single one of them. So make sure you, if you've got a question or you want to know something, just reach out. So anyway, thanks guys. We'll catch you next time.